Hi, thank you very much. So an exciting topic for today, trending investment destinations and immigration by investment options. We have a great panel. The way I'm gonna really run the discussion is that maybe I'll give you all about 3 to 4 minutes to just make your opening remarks in terms of why an investor should be considering into your program or into your project as such, and then we'll follow it up from there. That's fine. Yeah. Girish, can I start with you? If you can give a brief idea about the entire EB5 program in the USA and why people should consider that.
Right. So first of all, thank you all for being here. EB5 Visa is an investment-based visa which allows the investors, which includes main applicant, spouse, and children below 21, unmarried, to secure a green card or permanent residency for the US. The minimum investment for EB5 Visa is $800,000 US, and the requirement is you need to invest in a qualifying business. So if you buy a house, it's not going to qualify you for EB5 Visa. So the investment needs to go into a business which creates jobs. From a US standpoint, this is a job creation program. USCIS is the adjudicating authority which oversees the EB5 visa process and approves or denies applications. So from their perspective, each investor who is investing 800,000 worth of investment needs to create 10 full-time jobs in the US, and the funds which are going into that project need to be an at-risk investment business opportunity, meaning there should be a consideration of profit or loss. Does that mean that it needs to go into a risky project? No. So there are nuances, there is due diligence procedure which goes into each and every investment. There are a few questions which investors need to ask, but all in all, this has been proven to be one of the fastest and safest routes to attain permanent residency in the US. So just to give you an example, there are other visa categories such as H-1B. It's a non-immigrant visa category which allows people to migrate into US for employment purposes. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to changing jobs. If you end up losing the job, you have to find a new job within 60 days or you have to move out of the US. If you have a green card or a permanent residency, your status in the US is intact no matter what happens. So you can start your own business, your children can study in the US, you can get employed in the US, you have freedom to travel in and out of the US whenever you want. You can even conduct business activities outside of the US. So there is flexibility in terms of your status, which EB5 visa is allowing you to have. And that flexibility is highly sought after. So, and this is not a new program. EB5 visa program has been in place since 1990. The regional center program, I represent CMB regional centers. So the regional center program was established in 1992. And now there is a new law in place starting 2022, which is Reforms and Integrity Act of 2022, which is governing this particular program. So it's a long-lasting program, and there have been thousands and thousands of investors who have successfully migrated to the US, not just had their permanent residency or permanent green card, but also the return of the initial investment that they did.
Girish, just a follow-up question on that in terms of concerns about people about this entire program. So in terms, obviously, the investment size is 800,000 plus, can go up to about $1 million plus as well in some locations. What is the timelines that are expected when people apply through this program, as well as in terms of success ratios? What are those like for Indians especially?
Sure. So when it comes to the timeline, it differs as to where the main applicant is currently. So if there is, the main applicant is based in the US on any non-immigrant visa, for example, H-1B or F-1, student visa for that matter, then the timelines are going to differ as opposed to someone who is outside of the US or, for example, in India. Once you make that EB5 application, the timeline for your initial approval is going to be around 6 to 8 months, probably a year. Now, if someone is outside of the US, in India, they have to go through something called as a consular processing. So USCIS is going to send the file to NVC, National Visa Center, and from National Visa Center, it is going to come down to embassy or consulate. Then you attend an interview, and then you relocate to or move to the US. That is when you become a green card holder. If someone is already in the US, they don't have to go through the consular processing. They can directly file for adjustment of status. So while filing your EB5 petition, which is I-526E petition, you concurrently are able to file for adjustment of status. Now the adjustment of status is not going to be approved unless your EB5 is approved. But that grants you two advantages. One is employment authorization document, or EAD, which gives you that flexibility of changing jobs even before having the green card. And second is advanced parole or travel permit, which allows that investor to travel in and out of US. And both of these advantages are even before they receive the green card. So that's from a timeline perspective. Now looking at the investment timeline, the 800,000 that you're investing, you're looking at around 5 years of investment before you have the return of your capital. So that's from a timeline perspective. Now, talking about the second question as to the success rate for Indians, most of the investors who invest in EB5 visa, irrespective of the nationality, the success rate is based on where the investment is going and whether they were able to secure the green card or not. So talking from CMB Regional Center's perspective, all our projects, we have 81 projects which are already approved, meaning that someone who is invested in this project will get their green card or actually have received their green card. When it comes to the repayment, the investment which you make, we have repaid 1.3 billion US dollars successfully to all the investors. So the success is not really based on the nationality of any investor, but where that investor is actually investing in. But we have hundreds of clients from India who have successfully received their permanent residency and the return of capital as well.
One final question. Anything that people need to really be aware of before they apply for this in terms of concerns that they have, that they should really take care of before applying?
Right. So where is the investment going? I represent one of the companies which takes care of this particular investment, which is a hard-earned money from an investor's perspective. And we are going to work with different developers. So at any given point in time, we are going to have 1 or 2 projects. These are all construction-intensive projects. And the repayment of your capital is based on the construction completion and the ability of the developer to sell or refinance that project. So as a regional center, it is our responsibility to ensure that the investment which is going into that project is able to secure those 10 full-time American jobs, thereby ensuring that the investor receives the green card. And second is the return of capital. So for example, if I'm constructing a hotel, the due diligence team is going to look at few things. What is the demand of that particular asset class in that particular area? What is the integrity or the track record of that developer who is constructing that particular project? Whether that project is backed by any senior lender. So is there any bank who is also involved in lending funds to that developer? This is important. Why? Because if there is no one else financing this particular project except for EB5 investors, meaning that we need to check as to what is the reason for the EB5 investors being the only financiers and no senior lender or no bank per se is interested in that project. So all these aspects are really important when a due diligence regarding that project goes into place from our side. Now, when it comes to the due diligence from the investor's side, there are few questions which the investor needs to ask. What is the track record of that developer? What is the track record of the regional center with that developer? And what is that project? What is the timeline for the construction? And when can we expect our money back? What is the exit strategy? What does the developer intend to construct? And once the construction is complete, when do you foresee that asset class to be sold or refinanced? So these aspects are very important when someone is looking at EB5 investment. Of course, the immigration side runs parallel to that. Immigration aspect is to ensure that you have clear source of funds. You're working with good immigration attorneys who are going to document everything. And immigration attorneys are the ones who communicate on your behalf with USCIS. So both of these aspects need to be um, managed by the investor before they actually take the leap of faith of investing with any regional center or any project.
Thanks, Girish. I think that was very nicely explained. Now coming to another, very favorite destination for Indians, largely Dubai. Like if I can come to Vineet, Vineet, if you can give me a sense in terms of, obviously Dubai is something where Indians have really been very active, but the golden visa is something that people talk about quite a lot for, for staying out there. Can you give us a sense about this aspect?
Sure. So Dubai can be seen from two aspects, especially for Indians. One is vicinity, of course, it's very close by, and investment point of view, as well as the golden visa, as you said. So as an investor, it's a gold mine for somebody who comes from India, who might be fetching a rental return of say 2% to 3%, max 4%. You cannot get anything more than that in rental returns in India, where markets like Dubai gives you a rental return of 8 to 10%. The second aspect, which you said as golden visa. So interestingly, there is a trend that has been followed by governments in UAE, that they have been trying to absorb a lot of audience all across world. And there have been serious attempts being done by them. They want to filter the audience, of course, but at the same time, they want to ensure that a lot of people come in hassle-free. And that's where the idea of golden visa comes into picture. Golden visa is a 10-year residency visa, which ensures that 10 years you can come and go hassle-free from the country. How it is acquired. One of the criteria is investment. There are other criteria which includes skills, so skill set. So people with different special skill set, educationist, somebody earning above a certain benchmark in a certain set of positions, they are also offered by the government golden visa. But with that, there is a very clear investor-based golden visa, which is if you invest in a property of amounting more than 2 million dirham and above, which is into 2 for an easy calculation, 4.4 crore, 22.8 is an average rate. So 4.4 crore if you invest in any property in Dubai, then you are eligible for a 10-year golden visa.
Indians as investors, it could be pure play, just investment. We're not looking to get any visas as such. So which area should one look at and why?
Okay. So if you go by the map of Dubai, it's just 50 kilometers that we are talking about. So in that 50 kilometers, more or less Dubai is over. Now that's the interesting part. The growth has been across the Sheikh Zayed Road, and then which is the artery of Dubai if somebody is visited, and then it has been lateral over the period now. So in terms of locations, one interesting location which will never fail you is something which is around Burj Khalifa. So and that's one of the sound locations, because whatever investments you make in the vicinity, not right there, because when any ecosystem, any city is developing, the core or the exciting point gets overcrowded. And then the excitement start dropping. So for instance, in Delhi also, if there is some center point where a lot of motion has happened, you will see a higher amount of traffic jam and everything happening around. And that's where people tend to get interested about locations which are further, because traffic jam means that a lot of investment has increased the prices of that location also. So your affinity to make more return reduces at a place which is already overpriced. So that's where you have to see that you should be at the central location, that is you are around Burj Khalifa, and that's one of the indicators. As I said, 50 kilometers is Dubai, 30 minutes you can complete the Dubai from one end to the other end. So 35 to 40 minutes is what we are talking about. It's just that which developed community and developed area are we talking about, and which developer are you talking to. So there are land parcels which has got developers which might be creating big communities, but are those communities getting handed over with the expectation that you have thought when you invested? That's the key. Because it's a sand domain, it's a sandy area. So if a developer is good enough to create that whole community with all the right vibes in that community, then your community is excellent to grow and you will get the rental returns and everything that you expect about. But if it goes here and there, for example, it's a desert, you forgot to plant trees out of it. So whatever beautiful apartments you make, it does not make sense for anyone who wants to live in it. So that is with respect to the developers. With location, Marina is again a good location because of the palm and the kind of traction it has gained over the period. Marina has been a good location. JLT has been a very good location because it gives a mix of two ecosystems. One is commercial and as well as residential. So these are 2-3 major locations where you can look out for investments.
Thanks, Vineet. Let me come to one of the ladies. Nousheen, if I can come to you. Can you give us a sense about overall what all you do, as part of your immigration, consultancy in Canada, and obviously Indians have been very active, obviously as a community out there. Give us a sense about the overall market, and then I'll follow up with a few more questions.
Okay, sure. I'm an immigration consultant, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and we've been doing this job as an immigration firm since 2011. Our company, Swallow Immigration Consultancy, is one of the companies selected by the government of New Brunswick in Canada to promote New Brunswick programs and other Canadian programs to the whole world, actually. We traveled a lot to introduce different programs, Canadian programs, to people who are interested. Why Canada? Actually, Canada is one of the most popular destinations for so many immigrants, and with the excellent education system they have, with the free health system services Canada is offering, and with the very valuable passport Canada has, is a very good destination for so many people, business-wise or skilled people who are looking for a, I don't know, I can say second home. And for some of them, actually, maybe is the main home for the rest of their life. So today and tomorrow, we are representing Canada for most programs. And then the 3 big categories that we are offering in general is business stream, which is good for business people who are business owner or senior managers. The second group is for skilled people who are looking for a job to work, and it's not through the business stream. It's just like having a job offer and go through the immigration program. And the last group is the students. We are representing some colleges or universities that can help students to go through the study program and later on get the permanent residency and citizenship. The difference that we have here among all other representatives here is we are not offering citizenship by investment. We are offering different immigration programs to get the permanent residency and then citizenship. So I guess this is part of the...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just one follow-up question, and request everybody to keep it little concise. Do you think the current issues between the governments of Canada and India, it's a controversial question, but
yeah,
you think will affect immigration in any manner?
I don't believe so, because Canada is not relying on some sort of political situation between the countries. They respect all nationalities, all cultures. It doesn't matter if there are some issues between the governments, but they are welcoming all nationalities, and it's a multicultural country. All cultures, all nations are so respected, and even there is some issues between the countries politically, I don't believe the country, Canada is going to stop any people from India. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, thank you. Let me come to Till Neumann. If you can give us some sense about, the markets in Malta, in Germany, in Australia, that basically the German-speaking countries that you talked about. Give a sense about how Indians are getting interested in these locations, and what do you see as the future?
Since we're dealing mainly with immigration to Germany, Austria and Switzerland as well, with a focus on investor migration, it is really sometimes not really easy because our clients come with an approach, with an expectation where they can invest in, like in other countries, which is much easier. In Germany, we have, same goes also for Austria and Switzerland, there is a case-by-case decision on investor migration cases. So you need to present a case and show benefit to the country. And since there are no minimum investment requirements, it is very flexible and sometimes really hard to explain to someone. Because you can have a successful case with a low investment of 50,000 euro and no single job created. That is possible as well if the investment is in a really highly innovative sector, like for example, some biotech student who has been awarded with certain awards in his field, and he now tries to plan a small biotech startup. So with that case, for example, it is really possible to give entrepreneurs a chance which is not possible in many other countries. On the other hand, for relatively ordinary businesses, like for example a restaurant, it means the focus needs to be more on a high investment amount, on creating substantial jobs, and then we are typically talking about 10 to 20 if we're talking about a restaurant, and it's always a case-by-case decision. So, but for people who are really interested in coming to Germany, and there's certainly always a way, if the business plan makes sense, if the funding is right, then there are always ways to get a pathway through investor migration to Germany and equally to Austria as well. In Switzerland, just in a very brief few more words, there the investment amounts are just much higher. So it's equally possible here. But also here we need to see that the investor is minimum investing about 7 million Swiss francs, which equals almost to the dollar, which is really to the higher end compared to all the other countries. But this is due to the small size of Switzerland and of course also the much higher price level compared to other countries. Let me quickly, okay. About Malta. In Malta it is much more easy. Also, for example, in other countries where you have already designed investor immigration programs, it is much easier to invest and to get a permit because there you have clear structure, you have to invest this and that amount, you need to invest in these and that kind of industries, or you have to create so many jobs. Like for example in Portugal in the Golden Visa where a category for business investors exists as well. These make it structurally much easier and clients are typically more willing to put the money on the table because they fully can rely on. Just to circle back to Germany here, there we always have this part of insecurity or uncertainty in the case which people might shy away from. On the other hand, we have many clients who already have family in Germany or in Austria, so they have they're highly motivated to get it done in those countries, and it works out in the end if the conditions are right.
Just one small follow-up question. In terms of these three countries that you talked about, where do you see most Indians coming? Between the three countries, Malta, Germany, Austria, you see which of these do you see a lot more interest from Indians coming in?
Most of the people rather tend to come to Malta or actually to Portugal, which we deal as well a lot. The main reason being for Malta is of course the language. It's much easier to connect to the people because the national language is equally English and Maltese. And this makes it much easier if you especially want to relocate.
Thanks, Till. Coming to Vasilis, can you give us a sense about the overall interest for properties in Greece from Indians and give a sense about the market there as well?
Sure. Thank you very much, first of all, everyone being here, and thank you for being part of such an esteemed panel. Yes, basically, right now Greece is a very hot destination, and at the same time has a very competitive program for Europe. It offers the Greek Golden Visa, which gives an EU residency. It's a residence by investment program, and it's at the moment the most competitive from all alternatives in the Europe, because it has obviously on one hand lowest threshold, most competitive threshold of 250,000 euros, but at the same time it's a direct real estate investment, which is a low risk asset, of course, and it's also in a booming economy, in a booming market. What am I saying that? Right now we're seeing an economy which a real estate market which is the cheapest in Europe at the moment in terms of real estate. So it's easily accessible for anyone try to immigrate there. We're seeing a real estate market which is about 20% lower than the 2008 highs of the economic crisis. So still far from the highlight, still room to grow for any upside potential. We're seeing right now declining in inflation, declining in interest rates. So the market is becoming even more liquid in 2025. So that gives a significant unfair advantage compared to other markets. And overall, we have an economy. The economy is the highest growing economy in Europe with 2.57% GDP growth last year in 2023. So all these alternatives create an ecosystem for a country that obviously has been under many economic crises, energy crisis, immigration crisis, and although we have all these big problems, right now is an economy with full of opportunities because of these reasons, and actually gives timing is very important, I would say, because of all these reasons. Timing, entering the market where we just overcame all this crisis for the past 10, 15 years. I think it's important that the next 2 years are very crucial for anyone entering in order to get the best upside potential for the real estate investments. Shall I also respond for the Indians?
Yeah.
How do we see? Sorry, because it was two parts of the question. For Indians right now, we had the Prime Minister visiting in February. So here, so we've built a strategic alliance basically with the people here, and we actually have been seeing in the past 6 months a huge growth of people trying to immigrate, trying to also coming to reside in our country, seeing the opportunities that I've just described. And I'm actually very, very optimistic on the next couple of years, the next 5 years, 10 years even, because, you know, we might be a small country compared to all the others that have been mentioned. We're only like 11 million. But I think the opportunities are quite high. We have, as I said in my speech before, the cultures are very, very connected. The Indian and Greek cultures go back to ancient history. So the strategic alliances that are being built, and the people that the Indian people have been trying to have been educated already, I think, you know, to understand the market, the Greek market. I'm seeing also from our point of view as a developer in the country, the leading developer in the country, we're seeing a lot of demand in the past months, and I think this will grow.
And just a small follow-up question: do you think the increase in the amount required to participate in the high intensity areas from 250,000 euros to 800, will that be a dampener, especially for Indians?
This is a very interesting question. I'm actually seeing this is an opportunity for the market to be cleared up a bit. What am I saying? Because of the very low threshold in the whole real estate market of 250,000 euros before the 1st of September, there were many players coming, small and big, trying to manipulate the market. We're seeing properties overvalued. We're seeing people trying to be robbed, like a tourist, in some areas. So I would say I'm seeing actually a much more clear picture, a much more competitive pricing in the market, a much more reasonable market pricing, I say, overall. And the reason why is because right now, obviously, in the residential real estate, we have 400 and 800 increment in the threshold. So this will obviously put very specific fraction of our portfolio into eligibility for Golden Visa. But at the same time, the only eligible properties for 250,000 are the conversion properties from commercial, industrial to residential. This means that these are very specific, very specialized type of property that not many people can invest in. These are old buildings. These are big projects that need, big capex, to enter. And this means that only selected players, only players that have had a big track record, that have the capital to be able to invest, will only join in the market. And for this reason, actually, it's for the end investor is a better value for money opportunity like it used to be before.
Thanks, thanks, Vasilis. And finally, last but not the least, Anna, we've seen a lot of Indians from Goa take up residency there, obviously with the history with Portugal. But apart from that, do you see a lot of interest coming in from Indians apart from the state that I talked about?
Yes, we have some interest, and after last changes in the Golden Visa Portugal, when the real estate not possible anymore, it was a kind of transition on the market. And because now the main option for the Golden Visa, it's an investment fund. Minimum investment is 500,000 euros. And we could see that for some people, investment fund is not familiar so much. And it's more for the Northern American clients. So we saw the whole movement of the Americans coming to Portugal. And but now we see that people adapting, and the more and more interest and understanding of investment funds.
I think there were some changes that were done in October 2023, where real estate purchases and real estate related funds did not qualify. How is that going to change in times to come in terms of the interest from India?
Yes, so now the main option, as I told, investment funds, and it's still now the most optimal option. So there is another one like a donation, but people choose investment. And you can see on the market now the more and more funds come into to the market. So it's very important to check the fund managers. Anyway, all the funds are supervised by the government. So it's every 6 months there is an audition and check. And so it's very important for the client to meet the fund and to see what's their strategy and what's the exit strategy, how after investment the client can withdraw their funds, because by nature of the funds you can't guarantee any buyback, it's not allowed by the government, but there is certain strategies when you can secure your investment plus have annual profit. And what is more interesting for the Indian clients, who it's an ideal destination for people who wants to have permanent residency or citizenship in Europe. Because Portugal, one country in EU who offers kind of a fast track for the passport. When you invest in the Golden Visa, you have freedom to choose if you want to apply after 5 years of investment for the passport or for the permanent residency, which and in the same time you don't have to live in the country, you just have to come 7 days per year, and you have this freedom to decide, do you live in India or to come to visa just in Portugal to work, or your children can have education, but it's not obliged to live in the country if you want citizenship.
Thank you, Anna. I think that's all we had time for. We've already overshot the time slot allotted to us. Are we doing any participant? No. Okay. So if anybody wants to interact with the panelists, please feel free to do that as soon as the panel gets over. Thank you very much. It was a very, very nice discussion, very informative. Thank you once again.